Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Teresa, the dispensing fee that we've been talking about, CMS regulations require a professional, reasonable fee, and I understand that 10 states have settled under those new regulations with CMS, and they've set their fees from $10 to $14. Can you tell us, has any state been allowed to pay its the pharmacist a dispensing fee of $4?
I couldn't necessarily speak to that. You know, CMS's federal rule does talk about the professional dispensing fee, but I couldn't speak to what CMS.
The information I have is
programs
that it's between the ones that have settled between 10 and 14.
Okay.
Is that? Do you have any contradictory information?
Not with me. Okay. I do not know.
All right.
Sir.
Of the $45 million, which is projected to be saved if this merger were to go through, wouldn't some of that money go back to the lottery as savings and not go to the general fund?
I would like to think that it would stay in the lottery fund, you know, which is a reason why it's worthy of exploration.
So that really doesn't help us balance the general fund budget by going through with this merger. Okay.
I didn't quite follow that, but I don't know if that's a question for me or a statement.
Well, let me just move on.
Sure.
We've talked about Maximus. You've heard about the problems with Maximus. In the request for a proposal that Maximus submitted, I'm sure you've looked at it before, but it said, Maximus said they had the expertise, they had the staffing, they could hit the ground running, they could handle this program easily. All right, we accepted that. Department of Human Services accepted that proposal, and it has been pretty much a debacle since they started. And they may be getting better. They still have a long way to go, as far as I can see, just from the complaints that I receive as chairman of the Aging Committee. 11 months later, Wednesday will be the 11th month anniversary, and they still haven't ironed out these problems. And this is essentially a pilot program. It's 50,000 population. 50,000 of our seniors claim for these services, and Maximus has not been able, to date, in 11 months, to solve these problems and make this thing a smooth operation. If they can't do it, and DHS, as their contract, the agency that contracted with them, can't serve adequately our population of 50,000 seniors under the aging waiver, how can you have any confidence, how can any of us have any trust that DHS will be able to serve a much larger population? I think it's about 420,000 seniors that draw upon these services.
Well, your points are well taken, and to that end, with regard to an RFP for the independent enrollment broker under Community Health Choices, that procurement is yet to take place, and I can't sit here with any certainty that say that Maximus is going to be the guaranteed bidder, let alone bid on it, but that obviously is something that we need to pay close attention to because we've had such a negative experience in the rollout of this, but achievements, the two successes that we need to talk more about when I come back to the committee, apparently.
Okay. Moving on to the question of the possibility of the merger. The Department of Aging currently handles $800 million, roughly, in lottery money and federal funding under the Older Americans Act.
Right.
The Department of Human Services, as far as the figures that I can gather, handles $36 billion worth of federal and state money. All right, that's about 40 times larger, and I think there are a lot of people that are concerned that the voice of the aging population in Pennsylvania will be lost or diluted, certainly, when they're part of an agency which is now 40 times larger than they were used to. As current Secretary of Aging, you hold a cabinet-level position, and you speak directly with the governor. All right, on the proposed organization chart, your position would be reduced to a deputy secretary who reports to an executive deputy secretary, who then reports to the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who then must carry your message and your concerns, along with the other 9 deputy secretaries that are created, to the governor. How can the voice of the seniors not be diluted in that kind of atmosphere? It seems to me that the merger would diminish the voice of the elderly at a time when, in the next 4 years, we expect the elderly, the over 60 segment of our population, to be 25% of Pennsylvania's overall population. It seems, frankly, we ought to be increasing the voice of the elderly, not decreasing it, not diluting it, as this merger has to happen under this merger.
Sure. I appreciate that many folks, Mr. Chairman, including yourself, feel that the voice of seniors in particular would be diluted in a consolidated model. However, I really would beg to differ. You know, anybody that's going to serve as the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services will go before a governor, go before the Senate, in terms of a confirmation process. I would trust that anybody that's going to serve as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services is going to give those guarantees that every unique population that's going to be served within the Department of Health and Human Services for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is going to be the voice for all Pennsylvanians, regardless of their age or stage of life, regardless of their vulnerability, such as an LGBT community or an African American community. I mean, that to me is going to be part and parcel of what this new opportunity has to ensure that we are mirroring, you know, the good efforts that we put forth today in terms of providing health and human services across the lifespan for Pennsylvanians, and that voice will get stronger, not get diluted. As for, you know, the role of a deputy secretary for aging, this is a model that works currently in federal government. The federal government structure is very similar to what Pennsylvania is proposing.
That's not what we have now. We have a cabinet-level voice in you speaking directly to the governor. The proposal takes you 3 steps away from that. You have to report to an executive deputy secretary. He has to report to the new secretary, and the secretary then has to carry your concerns to the governor. That simply removes the elderly from the governor's purview. And it doesn't make them closer, and I wish I had as much faith in the rollout as you do, because I don't see it doing anything but diminishing the voice of the elderly.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.